Welcome to Rauta's record collection part F. Now, previous episode obviously was all about letter E, and that was quite a short compared to B and A or C for that matter. For obvious reasons, I guess. But F is really even shorter. Why so? Because in my world there are not too many bands that are that great with great albums starting with letter F. So, this time the pile is rather small. Yes, indeed. That's not too many of an album included. So, not too many albums. Let's go with. Let's do it. First, I'll have a few albums by the mighty Falcon. Now, I don't have all of them. It's not so much even that the quality of the band or style changed too much, but I guess I never just got into the newer stuff as much as the early works, especially these two, the debut album and the follow-up. They really, made my way back in the days. And this is about late 90s when Falcon Bass sounded very, very fresh and quite different from a lot of other bands doing similar style, meaning pagan metal with lots of keyboards, even clean vocals and what we called back in the days the Kazakh beats. That means the certain kind of drum patterns, drum machine or not, doesn't matter, was just something different. And that alone made me to my very mind like, wow, these are something different. Now, the reason why I actually have this heralding album, which is not technically speaking so much like a full album as the early works, because of a little bit compilation-like nature, is just because I got it for review back in the days. So that explains that. Then one of my favorite bands from Swedish death metal scene is actually Firespawn, which features late L.G. Petrov, may he rest in peace. And these two just came to me part of the review things back in the days, and I gotta say I like this even more Entombed. Now, a lot of people, I guess, notice that I don't have Entombed CDs in my collection. While I do like, say, 3 first albums quite a bit, I decided I don't really need them. But Firespawn is, in my opinion, better, so here it is. Trying to figure out so they make it back in alphabetical order. Some of the lesser known bands I have in my record collection, partially, once again, due to review albums, is the band Phogos. This is cool, but very, very overlooked black metal band that I got for review, and here it is, part of the whole thing. Then some brutal death metal, vocal dystonia, just is something that I recently bent back to, and also one of the kind of a lesser known bands, which is definitely really good, and as such deserves a place in my collection. Then some of the early works by Forgotten Tomb from Italy, the Depressive suicidal black metal band, already in their early careers, must have been late 90s or very early 2000s. I really don't remember the years that well, obviously, anymore, some 25 plus years later. But anyway, these are the early works that really made the way. I don't remember why I didn't have, for example, the second album, but these albums, back in the days, Negative Megalomania, and of course the debut album, Songs to Leave, they really made an impact on me, pretty much the same way the Shining from Sweden did. So touching all the right places with the genre, which is not as important to me as whole. I mean, there are lots of just kind of mediocrity in the depressive suicidal black metal scene, and I think it's because they don't really know how to make depressive, sad, and songs going deep in a way, talking about this particular genre. So many bands are just like lame, and by no means I'm not advocating even suicidal behavior, and I think depressive people are depressive. They're not just fun to hang around with. They always sound like, okay, you just go away, suffer somewhere else kind of a thing. But that is not to say I don't like dark and deeply depressive and sad kind of music. Actually made some things tick nicely. Obfuscate being the top one. But early Forgotten Tombs, yeah, great ones. Then one of my soundtrack thingies is from years and years ago, decades ago, From Hell, the movie that featured Johnny Depp as the main character, the kind of a Jack the Ripper kind of a thing, which is pretty good of a movie, and soundtrack probably even better. So kind of gothic and dark, atmospheric stuff. Then from Finland, one of the underground bands more operating in the world of black thrash in a way is Front and Antichrist Militia. This is a MCD, technically speaking at least, and this is powerful stuff, even if not mind-blowing, just the black thrash kind of done properly. Then some Canadian 1990s sounding black metal, Frozen Shadows album. This is something that I have had in my collection for a lot of years. And sometimes I even forget the existence of this band because it never made it big or, causing waves in a black metal scene in like bigger numbers. There are so many Canadian bands which just, are stealing the limelight in a way. But Frozen Shadows is one of those bands that kind of does it the right way, starting with the cold cover and all. Then a band from Sweden, which is considered a side project of Marduk these days, Funeral Mist, featuring the very vocalist of Marduk, and started with Salvation, the debut album, which later on made me check out later albums such as Marantha or Hecatomb. Hecatomb is probably my favorite Funeral Mist album. I mean, they all have similarities, but also differences. They're kind of a very fast and aggressive and touching the religious surface in a very, very dark and sinister ways. So obviously different from Marduk, but then again not that different from Marduk's Memento Mori album, which I guess features songs made by Marduk. Now, if you're noticing, I am missing the latest album, but that's because, in my opinion, that's the weakest Funeral Mist, and it really doesn't resonate with me with as much. Also, the other band before Funeral Mist is definitely worth checking out, which I had, the Triumphator, which I have on vinyl. Then one of the smaller but older also Finnish black metal bands from the more of the underground is Förgud, which I have with 3 releases. I think these are all MCD, Syntilankemus EP, Mors Vergona More, and Laulu Kuolemasta. Something that I've featured on my reviews. And this is from the raw end of black metal from Finland. Not the kind of a polished, melodic and all that stuff. There's always this certain grimness that is very, very much present with Förgud stuff. And these are the ones that I decided to keep for myself. I've reviewed more than these 3 over the years, but as a lot of people over there I'm very, very picky. Sometimes I've even questioned, do albums 8 out of 10 deserve to be in my collection? So I'm always going back to this battle with myself in my head, like, do I really need this? Can I just go with this album on the streaming services? And if I'm not, could I leave it if it's gone from, places like Spotify, YouTube, whatever? So sometimes I decide, okay, I'm going to put this album back in my collection rather than let it go, sell it, trade it, whatever. So I'm always have had this kind of a thing. I've done my record collection back and forth from the very beginning to the very end, and then back a few times during the years. Obviously with hundreds and hundreds of albums, not to mention some people who have thousands don't do it every year. It's just impossible time-wise, especially me when I'm spending most of my time with review albums. But every now and then it's really, really good to go through your record collection, even if it takes times, like in my case, listening to like one album a day, work days mostly. And as such, going even hundreds of albums can take easily a couple of years. Maybe more in my case. Anyhow, this is why I'm going slowly throughout the record collection, and it's fun. But then again, I also want to kind of enjoy them like one by one. Sometimes 2 albums maybe per day, and sometimes it kind of reminds me why it's so good to have some good albums in your collection. But I also, like said, it makes me wonder, do I really need this and that? So before I'm done with the collection, and a lot of albums have been already gone, which are not featured in the on the videos anymore, because I'm like, do I really need it? No, moving on. And only after that, when I'm doing the alphabetical order, I show you what it's left. So sometimes before, making a video of certain letter means that I've already gotten rid of some of the albums which are good, but not that good. Anyway, next episode is obviously all about G, which I barely started before making this video, so might take a little bit of time, but eventually we will go there, talking about the letter G, and let's see what's already in there. I don't even remember a lot of those albums, so great time to revisit them. What do you think? Is there something key essential missing from the letter F? And if it is, what is missing? Let me know and get back to you. Bye bye.